Hey, and we're live. Thank you for joining me this evening. And I want to touch on something that's very, very important. I'm just going to go live on Instagram. So, we're always told, and we know that we need to love ourselves. We need to prioritize ourselves, and we need to do all of these things in order to put ourselves first, to build the best possible life for ourselves, and to care for ourselves and just live a good life. It's the healthy thing to do, right? But what do we do in those moments when we don't like ourselves, when we may even despise ourselves, when we are the last person on the planet we want to be around? It's a very, very tough and challenging place to be, because when we feel like that, we don't do what's in our own best interest. We don't always care for ourselves as best as we can. We don't always love ourselves as best as we can. We don't look after ourselves as best as we can. When I was drinking, there were many times I did not like the person looking back at me from the mirror. I didn't want to be around myself, and in order to deal with that, to deal with my shame, my humiliation, my self-loathing, my self-hatred, I drank, and that only compounded the problem. It only made it worse. So the more I drank, the more I hated myself. The more I drank, the more I loathed myself. The more I loathed myself and hated myself, the more I had a drink. So I thought, in order to survive. It was just a spiral all the way down. It nearly ended in me putting a gun in my mouth and killing myself, because that's where the spiral leads. So perhaps for you it is not such an extreme case, but it becomes, my apologies, it becomes something that, I really thought I turned that off, by the way. It becomes something that we really, really, sure, it's quite tough. Becomes something that we don't want to do, and it becomes a place we don't want to be, and we become a person we don't want to be or be around. So what do we do? What do we do in those moments where we struggle so hard to love ourselves? What do we do in those moments where we're fighting so hard not to cause more damage, not to let ourselves down even more? Drinking, drugs, bad relationships, unhealthy behavior. The thing that worked for me when I couldn't love myself, I turned to the person inside of me that desperately needed love more than anything else. My inner child, the little 4-year-old Nick inside of me, that little guy who so desperately needed to be loved and nurtured and protected and cared for. I turned to him and I said to him, you know what? I can't take care of myself because I don't like who I am. But you have done nothing wrong. You are perfect. You are innocent. You are sweet. You are beautiful. You don't deserve pain. You don't deserve trauma. You don't deserve suffering. You deserve to be loved, to be nurtured, and to be protected. And I'm going to do that for you. I can't love my adult self. I can't like my adult self. I can't even stand my adult self. But my inner child, that kid's done nothing wrong. That kid has let no one down. That kid has disappointed no one. That kid is worth and value and significance and importance. And that's who I'm going to protect. And what happened for me in making that decision to love and nurture and protect my inner child when I couldn't do so for my adult self, that love and caring carried through to my behavior as an adult and the decisions I made and how I felt about myself. And it gave me an understanding that that inner child, that 4-year-old Nick, is still me who I am today. And the pain that I was feeling, the disappointment in myself, and the shame within myself were things that had to be forgiven and put aside and nurtured, put aside and dealt with, but nurtured, that they couldn't drown me. Because if I drowned myself, I drowned that little child within me. And he didn't deserve to drown. So in those moments when you are struggling to love yourself, in those moments when you're struggling to even like yourself, to look yourself in the mirror, when things seem so bad that you don't feel it's even worthwhile fighting, fight for your inner child. Fight for that little 3-year-old, that little 4-year-old, that little 5-year-old inside of you who is beautiful and pure and innocent and sweet and has done nothing wrong. Because that is who we ultimately are. That's where we feel everything. That's where we feel our pain. We feel our trauma. We feel our disappointment. We think as adults, but we feel as that little child inside of us. And that little child deserves to be nurtured and protected and given a hug, squeezed tight, 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 and told, I've got you. I've got this. I've got adult skills that I've learned, and I'm going to use them to protect you and to protect us. That's what you do when you cannot love yourself. When you cannot like yourself, you remind yourself of your inner child, and you love, you like, you protect, and you nurture that child. Every decision that you want to make, you take a breath, you put your foot down, and you say to yourself, thank you, by the way, for the thumbs up, guys. I appreciate that. Thank you. Absolutely, Nix. 100%. Thank you. You put your foot down and you say to yourself, I'm going to protect the little child within me. I'm going to look after that little child, because that little child ultimately is me, is you. It's who we are. Love and look after and nurture your inner child, because they have done nothing wrong. I love you guys. Have a beautiful evening. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the comments. I do appreciate it. I'll see you tomorrow.